Welcome back to CrimePod Castle's Twisted Love, Crimes of Passion, and this is episode 4.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into a case from 1992 that really shook Hyderabad, India.
1992, that's a while back.
Yeah, it is. In this case, the Laila Murder Case, it's a story with everything, you know?
It's got it all.
Yeah, beauty, ambition, love, lies.
Betrayal.
A tangled web of relationship.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's still unsolved.
The mystery just hangs in the air.
To this day.
It's a case that digs deep into human nature, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It really does.
You see the dark side of desire, the terrible things that can come from obsession.
Absolutely. So to get into all of this, to really understand what happened, let's kind of paint a picture of Laila's world.
Okay, good idea.
So before the tragedy, what was her life like?
Well, she was 25.
Okay.
Full of life. Big dreams, as big as Hyderabad itself.
Right.
She was modeling part-time, beautiful, and so charismatic, hoping to make it big in fashion and entertainment.
Wow. So it sounds like she was on the road, on the path to stardom.
Yeah, she was.
Was she from Hyderabad?
She was.
Okay.
But she came from, how can I put this? From humble beginnings.
Okay, and that becomes important later as we look into
Yeah.
her relationships and motivations.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah, I can see how that kind of background might give someone the drive to climb the social ladder, to achieve success that seemed out of reach.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And you combine that ambition with her charm, and, well, she ends up connected to some powerful men.
Yeah.
They were drawn to her, obviously, her beauty. But maybe also because of her potential, maybe they saw a chance to shape her rise to fame.
So these relationships, I mean, were they real, genuinely romantic, or was there something else going on? Was there some strategic advantage?
Well, it's always tough to say for sure, isn't it? Yeah.
These things aren't black and white.
Right.
But what we do know is that on the surface, things might have looked one way, but beneath it all, her relationships were a lot more complex than anyone realized.
Yeah, like there's always more to the story than what you see.
Exactly.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the men she was involved with?
Well, the investigation focused on 2 men in particular.
Okay.
First, you had Ravi, a wealthy businessman known for his lavish lifestyle, powerful connections.
Right.
And then there was Arif, a struggling musician.
Oh, wow. Okay, so a real contrast.
Yeah, you could say that.
So were these relationships, were they happening at the same time, or was there like a clear timeline?
They did overlap, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, which made things, well, complicated.
Huh.
It was a tangled web of emotions, with Ravi and Arif both deeply infatuated with Laila.
Yeah.
And that set the stage for a kind of unspoken rivalry, a competition for her affection.
Oh, I see. So it was like a recipe for disaster.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Love triangles rarely end well.
Right, especially when jealousy comes into the picture.
Oh, you're right about that. Jealousy is powerful. It magnifies those insecurities, and it can really distort your perception of things,
Right.
Lead to irrational behavior.
Right.
Even violence.
It's a powerful emotion, especially when it's mixed with possessiveness.
For sure.
Did either of these men did they seem possessive of Laila?
Well, Arif, the musician, he was known to be intensely possessive.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd fly off the handle if he saw her with other men, making threats, sometimes even getting physical.
Oh, wow. So this is definitely starting to sound dangerous for Laila.
It was.
Did she ever tell anyone about these threats?
Well, there were whispers among her friends, rumors that she felt trapped, that she couldn't escape area of, intensity.
Yeah.
But she never went to the police, never filed any complaints.
Oh, wow.
Maybe she was scared of making things worse or, damaging her relationships with these men.
It's a sad reminder that so many victims, they stay silent.
It is.
Afraid to speak out.
Yeah.
So here we have Laila, young woman with big dreams.
Yes.
Caught in these complicated and possibly dangerous relationships.
Right.
And then comes March 21st, 1992.
The night everything changed.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, that night, Laila was last seen at this popular cafe in Hyderabad.
Okay.
Witnesses saw her with Ravi. And they weren't exactly having a friendly chat.
Really?
No, they were arguing.
Oh.
Intensely.
Wow.
Voices raised, you could tell emotions were running high.
So this public argument, this is a big deal.
It is.
Do we know what they were fighting about?
There were rumors of financial troubles.
Okay.
Word on the street was Laila owed Ravi a lot of money.
Okay. And she'd promised to repay him.
That's right, once her modeling career took off.
Right, but it hadn't yet, right?
No, not yet.
So is it possible that Ravi confronted her about the debt?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. Maybe he felt betrayed or just impatient. You know, money can do that to people, even wealthy people.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that money, it can be a powerful motivator.
Powerful and dangerous.
Yeah.
It can drive people to do desperate things.
And in this case, the money mixed with the rivalry.
Yeah, you've got a recipe for trouble.
It's a powder keg ready to blow.
Exactly.
And Laila was right in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
So she disappears after this fight with Ravi.
Vanishes into the night.
What happened next?
3 days, 3 long days.
And no sign of her.
Nothing.
Her friends and family. They must have been frantic.
Oh, absolutely. They're searching everywhere, fearing the worst.
Yeah. And
then, on the outskirts of the city, a grim discovery.
What did they find?
They found Laila's body
Oh.
in an abandoned car.
Whose car?
It was Ravi's car. Oh, wow. And how?
She had been strangled.
Oh, my God.
And there were signs that she might have been drugged before.
So the investigation, I mean, it must have shifted to Ravi immediately.
It did, but as things progressed, it became a lot more complicated.
How so?
Remember Arif?
The musician?
Yeah, his fingerprints?
Uh-huh.
They were found inside Ravi's car.
Wait, hold on. So either they were both involved somehow or one of them was framing the other?
It's a real head scratcher, isn't it?
This is getting really complicated.
It was. And the police, they were struggling to find the truth.
Yeah, it's like trying to untangle a really knotted necklace.
Yeah.
Every time you think you're getting somewhere,
Another knot.
more questions.
Exactly.
So we have these two men, strong feelings for Laila, potential motives.
Right.
And now they're both linked to the crime scene.
It's a mess.
Yeah. This takes us right into the heart of the investigation, and that's something we're going to explore in more detail next time.
Looking forward to it. So until then, stay tuned.
So we're back, diving deeper into the Laila murder case, where love and jealousy and tragedy, they all just kind of get mixed up together in the worst way possible.
It's like something you'd see in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
And we left off with Laila's body being found in Ravi's car, but with Orio's fingerprints inside. So where'd the police go from there?
Well, they had a real puzzle on their hands. 2 prime suspects.
Right.
Both with pretty good motives.
Oh, okay. Let's start with Ravi. We know he was rich, powerful, and Laila owed him money. Was there anything else that made him look guilty?
The argument at the cafe, remember, just hours before Laila disappeared.
Right. That was a big piece of the puzzle.
Huge. Witnesses said it was intense.
Yeah.
Heated.
Okay.
Some even said Ravi stormed off really angry.
Oh, okay. So that definitely makes him look like someone who could, be violent, especially if he felt betrayed or, cheated out of money.
Absolutely.
And his car.
Yeah. Can't forget that.
That's where they found her.
Laila's body was in his car.
Okay, that's pretty bad. But then there's Arif and his fingerprints. Did he have any connection to the car at all?
Not that we know of.
Okay, so that makes things even more confusing, right?
It does, yeah.
Was Arif trying to frame Ravi?
Maybe.
Or did Ravi somehow get Arif involved without him knowing, like to get rid of the body?
It's possible it was like trying to untie a knot. You pull one string, and it just gets tighter.
And it makes things worse.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what about Arif's motive? We know he was possessive, jealous, and he'd even threatened Laila.
Yeah, the investigation really showed just how possessive Arif was. I mean, it was borderline obsessive.
Wow.
He had this history of just exploding, getting violent,
Right.
especially if he thought someone was threatening his relationship with Laila.
Yeah.
And some witnesses even said that he had been stalking her in the days before she died.
So we have these 2 men, both with tempers, both with a history of aggression toward Laila. It seems like either one of them could have snapped that night.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It could have been either of them.
Yeah.
And that's what made this case so hard to crack.
Right. The evidence, it pointed in too many directions.
Yeah, it did. It created this cloud of suspicion.
Yeah.
Hanging over both of them.
Did the police ever find any real solid proof that connected either of these men to the murder?
Even with all their work, they
Yeah.
never found that one piece of evidence.
The smoking gun?
Right, the smoking gun.
Uh-huh.
No one actually saw the murder happen.
Right.
And the forensic evidence, well, it didn't really point to one person or the other.
So what happened? Did they ever arrest either of them?
They questioned them. Oh, they questioned them a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but no charges. There
Okay.
wasn't enough, to make an arrest.
So Layla's murder is still unsolved.
Sadly, yeah, the case went cold.
Wow.
And her family and friends, yeah,
They're still left with all these questions and wanting justice, a justice they may never see.
it's so hard to think that someone could do something so awful
It is.
and get away with it. Did the case have a lasting impact on Hyderabad?
Oh yeah, it definitely did. It became this chilling reminder that even in a seemingly successful life, there can be these dark currents underneath.
Right.
It made people talk about women's safety, ambition, the dangers of jealousy.
And it makes you think about, how important it is to get help
Mhm.
if you see abuse, violence in a relationship.
Yeah, Layla's story shows just how deadly silence can be.
Absolutely. So we've looked at the evidence, talked about the theories, and it's unsettling that her killer might never be found. But there's something else about this case that I find really interesting, and it's the psychology of it all.
Oh yeah, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
The obsession, the jealousy.
Yeah.
They played a huge role in this tragedy, especially with Arif.
It makes you think about possessive love and where the line is between passion and something a lot darker.
So can you tell us a little bit more about obsession, especially when it comes to relationships?
Well, at its core, obsession is about being fixated on something,
Mm-hmm.
a person, an idea, to a point where it's unhealthy.
Right.
And in relationships, this can look like jealousy, possessiveness,
Yeah.
a need to control the other person, their actions, their feelings.
So it's not just, normal love and caring. It becomes like all-consuming.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The person who's obsessed, they lose sight of boundaries, their
Right.
own needs and wants. They don't matter anymore. It's all about the person they're obsessed with.
And that can lead to
Stalking,
Yeah.
harassment,
Right.
even violence.
that's scary.
It is.
Did the investigators, did they ever think that that Arif's obsession could have, made him kill?
They did, actually.
Okay, yeah.
His behavior, the violence, the threats,
Yeah.
he was a very strong suspect.
But in the end, they couldn't prove it.
Nope. And that's the tough part about these kinds of investigations. Sometimes, even when you have a gut feeling,
Yeah.
the evidence just isn't there to say for sure that someone's guilty.
So justice, it doesn't always happen the way you think it should.
It doesn't. And sometimes the truth, it just stays hidden,
Yeah.
leaving everyone with questions and a real sense of loss,
Yeah. And for Layla's family and friends,
especially for them.
that loss is even worse because the person who did this,
Mm.
they might never be held responsible.
It's a hard thing to think about.
It really is. But even with this tragedy, I think it's important to try to find meaning, to learn from what happened to Layla, so that we can maybe prevent this from happening again.
I agree with you. Layla's story reminds us how important it is to see those warning signs,
Right.
the signs of abuse, and to speak up.
Yeah. If you see someone in danger,
Absolutely, you might be saving a life.
it also shows us how complicated things can get. Ambition, desire, vulnerability.
Especially for young women trying to make it in a world that can be really tough.
So Layla's story, it's a warning,
It is.
but it also shows how important it is to have a good support system.
That's right. People who can guide you,
Yeah.
help you see things clearly.
Because when you're focused on your goals,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to see the warning signs, the red flags.
You can get caught up in it all.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to be able to talk about these things,
Absolutely.
to be open,
Yeah.
especially for young women.
They need to feel safe talking about the pressure they face, the dangers they might run into.
So it's about giving them the power to make good choices,
Yeah.
to recognize those red flags.
And to get help when they need it.
And it's about holding those who abuse
Yeah.
and take advantage accountable.
They need to face the consequences.
Yeah, we need to change the way things are so that victims aren't silenced
That's so important.
and those who hurt others are protected.
It's time to shift that balance.
Layla's story, it's tragic, but it can also be a way to make things better,
I agree.
to understand these issues and make the world safer, fairer.
I like that. Turning tragedy into something good.
Yeah,
Using Layla's story to show us the way forward.
and I think that's a really strong message to leave our listeners with. So as we finish up this deep dive into the Laila murder case, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
Remember Layla not just as a victim, but as a young woman full of life who had dreams, aspirations.
Hmm.
And her story deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
I hope her story will get people talking, questioning things, and doing something to make a difference.
And to all of you listening, we want to know what you think, what really stood out to you about Layla's story.
Yeah, what are you thinking about?
What questions do you still have? Share your thoughts with us on social media, and let's keep talking about this.
Because the only way we can learn from the past and make sure these kinds of tragedies happen less often is by being open and honest with each other.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the Laila murder case.
It's been a deep one.
Yeah, it has. And if you found this deep dive insightful,
Hit that subscribe button.
subscribe to CrimePod Castle and tell your friends about it. And be sure to join us next time for another story about love, obsession, and the crimes of passion.
We'll see you then.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. You know, as we've been talking about Laila, I keep thinking that this is it's more than just a crime. You know, it's about the choices we make, the paths we take, and how sometimes, well, we don't see what's coming next.
That's a good point, Layla's story. It's like a small version of these bigger problems we see in the world. Ambition, feeling vulnerable and trying to succeed in a place that's tempting but also dangerous.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder, like, what can we learn from Layla's story about the dangers that hide beneath all the glamour?
It reminds us that that not everything is as it seems.
Yeah.
The fashion world, the entertainment industry, it promises fame and fortune, right?
Right.
And it can be really appealing, especially to young people who haven't had much.
Yeah.
But those who want to take advantage of others, they often hide behind fancy clothes and smooth talk.
So it's like a warning telling us to be careful, to look past the surface, to see that even in the most exciting places, there can be manipulation, there can be danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it shows how important it is to have good people around you.
Yeah, a good support system.
People you can trust
Yeah.
to give you advice, help you see things clearly.
Because sometimes when you're so focused on what you want,
You miss those warning signs?
you don't see the red flags.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's why it's so crucial to talk about these
To
things,
be open.
to share what's happening,
Especially young women, they need to feel safe talking about what they go through.
the pressure they face, the dangers they might encounter.
They need to be able to talk about it.
Right. So it's about giving them the power to make their own choices.
Yes.
To see the warning signs.
And to know where to get help.
And it's about, making sure that the people who abuse, who take advantage, that they're held accountable.
Yeah, there have to be consequences.
We need to change things
Yeah, absolutely.
so that victims aren't afraid to speak up.
And those who hurt others, they can't just get away with it.
Layla's story is, well, it's a tragedy, but it can also be a way to make things better,
I agree.
to understand these difficult issues and to build a safer world.
It's about taking something awful
Yeah.
and using it to make a positive change.
Yeah, using Layla's story to guide us.
Exactly.
I think that's a really powerful message to leave our listeners with.
I think so too.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Laila murder case, what's the one thing you'd like our listeners to take away from all of this?
I hope they remember Layla not just as a victim,
Yeah.
but as a young woman who had hopes and dreams. A story that needs to be told.
Right.
I hope her story makes people talk, makes them question things, and inspires them to take action.
And to everyone listening, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, tell us your thoughts.
What stood out to you about Layla's story? What questions do you still have?
Share with us on social media.
Yeah, and let's keep the conversation going because, the only way we can learn from what happened, the only way we can make sure these tragedies don't keep happening
Is by talking to each other.
being open.
And honest.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the Laila murder case.
It's been a heavy one.
It has. And if you found this deep dive insightful, be sure to subscribe to CrimePod Castle and tell your friends about it.
Spread the word.
And join us next time for another story of love, obsession, and those crimes of passion.
Until next time.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.